Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Richard. Welcome to my little pad where the motorcycles live. Currently in the pad is my son's GSXR 600, which I will be riding later this week and taking a couple of videos and sharing the experience. I mean, this is virtually a retro machine now. It's a 54 plate, I think 2003, 2004. We have the typical T120. Absolutely beautiful machine, about just under a year and a half old, and been across Europe twice. Absolutely wonderful, 9,000 miles on the clock. And here's the new baby, the GSX 1400. Well, what have we done? I've gone and changed the fluids with a couple of things that I want to show you, which you might want to think about your Christmas presents for 2025. So if you're not sure what you want the kids to buy you for Christmas, stay fixed. The GSX 1400 Suzuki, the one that was locked away for 23 years in the dark. And it's absolutely wonderful. I've changed the fluids, clutch and brakes, front and rear. Today I changed the oil and the oil filter. Tomorrow I'm going to slip the tank up and change the air filter. And then it's just about ready for its Istamara or MOT, depending on where you're coming from. An annual check by the Department of Transport, and to confirm that the vehicle, in this case the GSX 1400, is roadworthy and safe. So it's never had an MOT or an Istamara if you're coming from the Middle East. So she's running like a treat now. She's got some fresh oil in her. She's had the oil that was in her had been in her for 23 years, 23 years, but she's running like a treat. Absolutely beautiful. I've given the tank a bit of a polish, given the front mudguard a bit of a polish. I need to go around the back fairings and that and give that a polish. We'll be doing a bit of work on this over the winter of 2025 to 2026, polishing it up, getting it back to its OEM condition, giving it a good clean, all that kind of rubbish. First things, what do I want to show you? And this is about housing, yeah, and the economy. This video is about housing and the economy, but I do want to show you a couple of things. To help with the bleeding of the clutch and the front brakes and the rear brake, I went and got one of these pumps, and I think it cost me £10 off eBay. I'll put the flash up right now of how much it cost, and this was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. It was a great help to get the old fluid out and the new fluid in, yeah? And absolutely wonderful. Made it so much easier. You might want to buy one of these for a Christmas present. Also, that's that one. Let me put that down. Also, a few weeks ago, I had to service the Triumph Bonneville. Getting to the oil filter is horrendous. And you can't really take it off by hand or with the chain. It really is difficult. So you can buy the sockets that go over the end of the oil filter, and using a wrench or a socket or whatever, you can then open up the pressure on the oil filter. You can buy them individually. For the Triumph T120, the number you should be looking for is 901. But that that big nut was going to cost something like £12. I bought this kit, which has got everything for cars and motorcycles. And I used this on the GSX 1400 today to open up and take the pressure off the oil filter. This kit, and I'll put a flash up again, I think this kit cost £24. Let me just show you one. I'm running out of space. I don't want to put it on one of the bikes. That's what it is. It goes on the end of the oil filter, and you can turn it with a wrench. Yeah, typical 1/2-inch wrench or whatever it is. Absolutely wonderful. And now I've got a full kit for £24 that covers the cars and the motorbikes and all that good stuff. Rather than buying just one, the 901 for the T120, which costs about £10 to £12. I bought the full kit, £24 or thereabouts. I'll put the numbers up in a minute. Let's get rid of that. Comes in a nice box. What do you think? Christmas presents. Currently, hopefully you can see this, excuse me. Currently, I'm testing out a new credit card wallet. Now, I know the young people, where's my mobile phone? The young people pay with this kind of thing, yeah? I know that. So it's probably not something for the younger people, but as most of my viewers are, let's say, 40 years and over, this might be a new wallet for you. And it's a really cool wallet. I'll give the details in another video. But what you do is you carry your credit cards and then you just take them out and whatever. And the beauty about this is when you put it in your back pocket, no one can come and use one of those scanners and withdraw £50 out of your account. Yeah, do you know the latest trend where when you're walking down the high street, someone will just drift past your back pocket where your wallet is and just take £50 out of your account without you knowing it. And then, and this case stops it from being used in that way. It protects the thing. Also, if you notice there's an Apple AirTag. So if I ever lose it or misplace it, I never lose these things. If I ever lose it, I can use my mobile phone to find out where it is. And I can put my folded money, cash, in there. It's fairly cool. I'll give you more detail on that. I've only been using it for about 4 days. But up to now, it's really good. PunCube. I haven't got an affiliate, but it's really good. Someone sent me this through because of the channel, but we'll have a look at that in the future. What do I want to talk to about today? Okay. Do I sit on the GSXR? Yeah, why not? Why not? I can actually see myself through the phone. There we go. Let's put that there. Let's put this somewhere. Let's put this in my pocket. Have I got everything else? Yeah. Okay. So, am I going to be able to sit on this? Yeah. Today, I've gone to see my son's new house. My son has bought a house in a normal area. It's a 3-bedroom house, 2 rooms downstairs and a kitchen along with the 2 rooms. It does need work doing on the property. I would suspect it needs about somewhere between £5,000 and £10,000 spending on the property for a new simple kitchen and all that good stuff. So it's fairly good. It's fairly good. He paid, I think, about £165,000 for this property, which is, in effect, minus the minus the deposit that he paid for the property, the remaining debt is about 3 times his pay. Currently in the UK, everybody seems to think that properties are 10 times the average pay. The average pay today is in the UK about £31,000, £30,000, £31,000. And I've said in previous videos that if you're on less than £85,000 in the UK per year, then you are poorer than you should be. Yes, but that's something we can talk about later. But he's bought this house and he's going to be paying just over £700 for his mortgage a month. As long as the interest rates don't go crazy, then it'll go up to £1,000 a month, which is still less than renting in the UK. It's still less than renting. But there's a good point there. You know, properties are there to be bought. It's just that, you know, everybody seems to want a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house today at £425,000, right? So, you know, you take your choice and, you know, you do what you do. But I just wanted to go through when it started going crazy, and with the economy of the UK and probably the Western world, to be fair, when it started going crazy. In 1991, I met a girl and she just bought a house. And I met her in 1992. She bought the house in 1991 or 92. And then I ended up moving in with her and she became my wife in 1993. The house that she bought, she paid £39,000 in 1991, 1992. It was a 2-up, 2-down property, semi-detached, lovely little property. And it was great. And then this was in Frechville, an area called Frechville in Sheffield. And this is where I used to have my Triumph Daytona 1000. Yes, we used to have a place to park it at the side of the house, or just behind the house, and that's where it was stolen. Yeah, a year of living there, maybe 2 years, there was a mass movement from another area not too far away called the Manor. If you're in Sheffield, you'll know what the Manor is, and it wasn't a nice area. I'm sure it's a much nicer area now, but then in the 90s it wasn't a nice area. A lot of people got moved out of the Manor because it was going through re-urbanisation, lots of new houses being built, so everybody got kicked out. And one of those places where they got kicked out to was Frechville. And Frechville as an area it just plummeted, it went downhill. The bike got stolen, I got it recovered, that's okay. Cars were going up and down the roads and smashing into each other and things like, it was going crazy. So me and then the wife at that time decided to sell the property and move out of that area because we were getting a bit concerned about all these bad people that were coming from the Manor into Frechville. And they were going to other areas across Sheffield as well. So she paid £39,000 or thereabouts in 1991 or 1992. But regardless, I think it was 1991, and I moved in. And then in 1993, my mother died and left the money to me. I sold her house, and in 1994, I sold her house for about £50,000, £55,000. I'll put a picture up. So I'll have put a picture up of the one at Frechville. And now I'll put a picture up of the other side of Sheffield in Crooks. This is that house off Google Maps right now. All these pictures will be off Google Maps. I sold that house in 1994 for £55,000. We took the capital from that, from inheritance, and took the capital from that sale and used it to move away from Frechville to a much nicer area, which is Bradway in Sheffield, on the western side of Sheffield. And we bought a house for £70,600. I remember this because I think it was for sale for something like 78,000. A lovely semi-detached house with 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And that was in 1997. Must have been 1997. I put a bid in for 70,000 and we agreed at 70,600. The guy who sold that house was a lovely guy. He had a terrible experience and he used to make bicycles, custom bicycles, racing bicycles and tandems. And him and his family went on holiday to Australia, from the UK to Australia with all the bicycles. And on the first day, unfortunately, his wife was involved in an accident as they were riding away from the airport that they'd landed in Australia. And no other vehicles were involved. She came off a bicycle and died. But, you know, a terrible story. Anyway, they all came back to the UK and repatriated his wife's body and all that kind of thing. But anyway, we bought this house. And this was about the start of where the economic change began to happen. And housing prices were going up, and we thought that we'd been really lucky in buying this house. So in 2003, I was offered a job on the other side of the country, which is where I am at the moment, for whatever reason. I know I've lived in Qatar and all that, but that's another subject. But this house that was £70,000 was sold 6 years later for about £225,000. And this is where the economies of the Western world, or certainly in the UK, went stupid. Yeah? So when we bought the house in 1997 for 70,000, we'd got about a mortgage of about 35,000. So we got 50% equity. Yes? By the time 2003 came, we'd got something like, I don't know, maybe 15, we must have had something like 80%, 85% equity. Yeah, because we'd still got a mortgage for, let's say, £35,000. Yeah? And the rest of it was equity at £70,000 total. So we ended up moving over to another property. I'll put all the flashes up of the properties in a place called Loggerheads in Staffordshire, which is not far from Newcastle-under-Lyme, Stoke-on-Trent. I'll put an image up right now. And we bought this house for about 230,000. So we sold the house in Sheffield at Bradway for 225 and moved into this detached 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house in Loggerheads, Staffordshire, not too far away from Stoke-on-Trent. Lovely house. Sad part, the estate, it was a new house. The estate was called, locally, was called the Foreigners' Estate, because none of the locals bought houses there. And sure enough, all the people, including myself, were from other places. I was a foreigner, if you know what I mean. And we had a couple of years there, and the neighbours were really strange. Some of the neighbours were a little strange. And this strangeness, I didn't want my 2 boys to be indoctrinated with this strangeness, like, you know, someone gets a BMW 3 Series, so someone goes out and gets a BMW 5 Series, and they're there, everybody's showing off of what they've got. And at the time, we had a Mazda RX-8, which was a brilliant car with the rotary engine. And as soon as I got the RXA, everybody went wild on the estate saying, this is ridiculous, why has he gone and got this? And it was a bizarre dimension that I just didn't want the kids to get indoctrinated with. So owned this house for a year or two and then sold it for about 255,000. So it made 30,000 in a couple of years' time. And this is the craziness of living in this economy. So we bought that house in 2004. We sold it in 2007. So we had it for 2 or 3 years. And then I went and bought the house and buildings associated to what was a farm. I'll put an image up here of the farm, and paid £525,000 for that. Took out quite a large mortgage, but it was still relatively cheap money because the interest rates were so low at that time. And a lovely property. That was 2007. Did the property up, spent thousands on it, getting it right. And that's when it all came to an end for me, because in 2015 I had to walk away from a relationship with that then wife, and walked away with nothing. And she got everything and all that kind of thing. I ended up moving abroad. I ended up going to Estonia, and then from Estonia I ended up moving over to Qatar with a very brief gap back in the UK between Estonia and Qatar, and lived in Preston with my good friend Craig, who put me up in his spare bedroom because I had nowhere to live. I had the choice of living out of the back of a car. So I left that relationship in 2015. Spent another 6 months in the UK. Sometimes living out of cheap hotels, sometimes living out of the back of the car. I'd got nothing, and then in the early part of 2016, I'd had enough and ended up in Estonia for whatever reason. Estonia was Europe's Silicon Valley, and sure enough, within a couple of weeks of being in Tallinn, Estonia. Let's have a screenshot. It's a lovely place, ended up there for just under, about a year and a half. Came back to the UK and then moved over to Qatar to start rebuilding my finances, which I did. And I spent just under 2 years in Qatar and came away with a healthy lump sum and getting rid of all the debts from the divorce, because I walked away with nothing. But the point is, between 1997 and 2003, 2004, when the house in Bradway sold, the prices went crazy of houses. And since that point, 2004, I know everybody blames the crash of 2008, but since 2004, wages in the UK have been very, very stagnant. They've been stagnant for over 20 years now. And that's why, here we come to the point, when you're on 30,000 and you're looking at a £300,000 house, you have to get a loan, a mortgage, for 10 times your pay. The next point is you don't need to necessarily go and get a £300,000 property. My son has just bought a house for £160,000, large garden at the front, even larger garden at the rear, very nice property, semi-detached, 3 bedrooms, needs a bit of work on it, £5,000 to £10,000, but properties are there, yeah? Properties are there to be purchased and lived in, and it's a nice enough property. And at some point, I guess his GSXR 600, which I'm going to be riding very soon, will be going into his newly built workshop, because he's going to be building a workshop in half of the back garden so he can do his stuff in engineering in what he does, so he can earn even more money and all that good stuff. Properties can be bought at a reasonable price, 3 times, 4 times maybe the average pay, and that's just on his pay. It's not him and his missus, it's just on his pay. So, and he'll never be out of work. He's got such good skills, he'll never be out of work, not until he dies. What do you think? Have you had a similar experience? Do you remember the times of the 1990s where you could get a mortgage for 3 times your pay and a house for 3 times your pay? Tell me your story below. Did you find this interesting, going back to the times? I mean, 2001, when things started really going crazy, was when this GSX 1400 was registered. 2001. This is 24 years old. 24 years old. 2004, that's when it was definitely crazy. And that's when this GSX R600 was registered. My son bought this as a garage queen with 14,000 miles on it. I can't remember. For less than £3,000 a couple of years ago. Absolutely wonderful machine. The engine on this is like a sewing machine. This, a couple of years ago, well, a year and a half ago, I paid £11,000 for the T120 Bonneville, and now I think they're about £13,000. So in a year and a half, they've gone up by £2,000. Crazy, crazy money. Crazy money. There's my world of economics. Does this ring true with your experiences? You tell me. You tell me. Or is it just me? I do regret moving away from Sheffield. I should have stayed in that house at Sheffield that we bought for £70,600, because that mortgage would have been finished and all that. Then again, that said, I would have still got divorced, I guess. But it was what it was. I'm not going to go into the details of that. It is what it is. However, hope you found this interesting. If you did, don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed, thank you very much. It's much appreciated. If you found this interesting and it meant something to you, maybe reminded you of the past, some mistakes, some good, not so good, all that kind of thing, then give the video a like. Yeah? I just thought I'd have a quick chat in my man cave. Is that what would you call it that today? There's more to come on the GSX 1400. They've got plenty of things to do. There's plenty of things. I've got this bike, the GSX, for a week or two, GSX-R for a week or two, and we'll make a couple of videos on that. It's a classic bike, and that's another thing. A lot of people say that something like this is not good for when you've just passed your test. It is. It is. There's no traction control on this. There's no ABS. I don't think. No, there's no ABS. Something like this is perfect for when you pass your test, because you then learn to look how best to manage the throttle. Yeah? Anyway, I'm going to bring the video to an end. Ride safely. I'll see you very soon. Thanks for watching if you got this far. Be good. See you soon. Bye-bye.